What's going on, growers? It's James Prigioni coming to you live from Jersey. One of my favorite things about gardening is that we can grow fruits and veggies that you just can't get from the store. Today, we're going to be harvesting one of those fruits and enjoying its uniqueness and flavor. The only way you can eat pawpaws around here is if you grow them yourself. Let's go! Before most people get into gardening, they assume the food stores sell every kind of fruit and veggie there is, and that they're out here to feed the world. But after some time, we come to realize that just like every other business, the grocery store is just designed to make money. That's why I believe it's important for us to grow our own food, because we are the only ones looking out for our own health and wellness. Plus, there are some great fruits that the stores don't sell, mainly because they don't ship well and they don't store well. That's what brings us to our North American gem, the pawpaw. The pawpaw is actually one of the few native fruit trees to North America, and they still grow wild in the eastern US. They're actually native to Canada as well. I had one of my friends, he bought a property down in Tennessee, and he told me when he went out there, he found a whole cluster of pawpaw trees growing together. And that's typically how they grow out in the wild, in clusters in the understory. The pawpaw is in the same family as the custard apple and the cherimoya. This is mostly a tropical family, so this pawpaw tree is the only one in that family that grows native in the US. They grow in zones 5 to 9, and most cultivars need another variety for pollination, but there are a few that are self-fertile. When full grown, they can grow to about 35 feet, and typically their trunks will grow to about a foot in diameter. A distinct feature about the pawpaw tree is its somewhat droopy leaves. They're large, and they'll get about 10 to 12 inches long. And in my opinion, when you look at the whole pawpaw tree, it has that kind of tropical look, and I think that stems from its family heritage. What's great about the pawpaw in the eastern US is the stems and the leaves, the deer actually avoid them, and that probably is because when they're crushed up, they have an unpleasant smell. Also, the tree has little to no pest issues, which makes it an excellent and reliable tree when you're trying to grow as naturally as you can. The flowers on the pawpaw tree are unique as well. They have a purplish maroon color to them, and when you get close and you smell them, they actually have kind of a bit of a rotting meat smell, which is important. And that's because the pollinators for pawpaws aren't bees. They're actually various kinds of flies and beetles. People have also tried spraying fish emulsion onto those flowers to bring more pollinators too. Now that we've gone through the general overview of the pawpaw tree, let's get to the fun part and grab some of the fruit. There's plenty ripe on this tree, and when they're actually in season like this, and ripe, and you've got a large tree, they put out pounds and pounds of fruit. It's kind of amazing. As you can see, this tree is just absolutely loaded. There are so many pawpaws on it, and this gets cross-pollinated by another variety over there. There's 3 pawpaw trees in total here. So you can see that looking up, you only need about 1 or 2 good producing pawpaw trees. You don't need that many, because when it comes to it, these harvests are large, they're reliable, and you can do a lot of different things with it. The pawpaws ripen at this time of the year, in the late summer to the early fall. And most of the time when they're not ripe, they'll be that green. And when they are, they'll drop to the ground. They'll get a yellowish color and turn brown after some time. I like them when they're super, super soft. So inside of them, we have a bunch of large black seeds. Well, not a bunch, several large black seeds, but let's grab some ripe ones and then cut into them and see what they taste like. Typically, you don't have to pull the pawpaws off the tree. They'll fall to the ground on their own when they're ready. And you don't want to eat them when they're dark green, like if you just get them off the tree when they're like this. They're still a little hard. You want to eat them when they're super soft, as this one's getting softer here. So after this fell off the tree, we gave it a few days for it to get softer, and it quickly gets soft. That's why they don't really like selling them in the stores, because they immediately start ripening like this, getting softer. And I've tried them when they were harder and green. It's not what you want. You want to get them when they're soft, super mushy, and that's what really brings out a lot of the sugars. Let's cut into this one. And how I like to do it is just cut it around like that, in a circle, split it. You can see the large seeds in there, that nice color of the fruit. And then I'll just grab a spoon and eat it like that. And you can preserve pawpaws a number of ways. One way you can do it is dehydrating. Another way is you could pressure can them, but you can also freeze them. And frozen pawpaws when they're hard was actually one of George Washington's favorite desserts. So what I like to do is just grab something like this, a nice bite, has a little seed in there, but the seed's obviously big and easy, and just have a bite of it. So sweet, so good. When they're ripe, the flavor, it's hard to describe, but it's almost like, it's got that soft, almost like a little bit banana, has some mango, a little vanilla. That depends on the variety, and the seeds are really easy to dispose of. I've also heard of some people making jams out of pawpaws, and from seed they'll take about 4 to 8 years to start producing fruit. If you get a little sapling, that'll only take about 2 to 6 years. So good when they're ripe. That's one of the most important things. I've seen some people try pawpaws when they're green. They're hard like this. They don't like the flavor. You got to make sure they're ripe and they're super soft. Kind of similar to a banana. You don't want to eat a banana when it's all green. And some people mistake the pawpaws for papayas. These are not papayas, although sometimes in different parts of the regions, they'll call papayas pawpaws. So there's a little confusion in the name, but this is not a papaya. It's in a completely different family and a completely different fruit. You may have noticed that I wasn't actually in my food forest or even on my property when I was filming the pawpaw video showing you the trees. And that's because I was actually over at my neighbor's house. It's only about 20 to 30 feet from where I'm standing right now. And he has those 3 large pawpaw trees that are producing so heavily. So it doesn't really make sense for me to actually have any pawpaws in the food forest. There's already too many for both of us to eat. He shares with me those pawpaws and stuff. I share back with him some other things. And it forms this sort of small little community we have locally with one another. I talked about it in one of my other videos about how the gardening community is one of the most beneficial and great communities to be a part of. Not only do we encourage each other, but we share with one another and we get to take advantage of other people, some of the space they have or some of the things they grow, and it all comes together to benefit everyone who's a part of it. One thing that I wanted to show you is back in the corner of the food forest, the 8-year-old one, we've got a pawpaw that came up on its own from seed. And after I eat some of these, sometimes I'll just broadcast them into the garden and they'll come up on their own. Here's one here. You can see it's distinct droopy leaves, looking real nice and growing well. I don't feel like pulling it out because I feel like that would just be wrong. So maybe I will have a pawpaw on the property in the future, one that just came up from seed, but I'll let it go naturally on its own. I think I saw something over here, a little radish or something Tuck might like. Tuck, want a radish, boy? Yeah, Tuck likes his radishes, and I wanted to give him some of the pawpaw, but I'm not sure if he could eat it. I didn't want him to get sick. So if some of you know down low that whether or not he can eat the pawpaw, let me know, and I'll give him some in the future. But I just wasn't too sure if he should be eating it. He does like his radishes, though. He likes them probably even more than I do. Sometimes even the sharp ones he'll eat. He just starts snacking on them like a carrot. It seems that most of the root vegetables he really enjoys, so we make sure to give him plenty of them. Something like this too. I don't even know how sharp this one is, but he doesn't seem to mind. He just has fun out here, enjoys himself. I think he gets a kick out of chewing it up and eating it just as much as enjoying the flavor and stuff. As you can see him crunching away. I think he enjoys the crunch too. So again, if any of you are vets or you know whether or not the dogs can eat the pawpaw, let me know, because I'd love to give Tuck a try of it. They're very sweet and high in sugar, so I'm sure it's something I shouldn't give him a lot of. And I believe that the seeds are actually even poisonous as well. So if I did give him some, I wouldn't give him any seeds. But I think it would be fun for him to try. Tuck seems like he's gonna eat all of it, but I wanna try it, see how sharp it is. Good. And it's one that came up on its own from seed. Another bite, boy? Especially if he sees me in it, then he's definitely gonna want it. If some of you are on the fence about whether or not you should put a pawpaw tree in and grow that, or whether or not you should even start a garden, I want to let you know and recommend that you go for it. When it comes to gardening, I have just learned so much, and it's become such a valuable and intricate part of my life. It's expanded my horizon on different kinds of foods to eat, different experiences, and it's overall taught me almost more than anything about who I am as a person and just helped me grow overall. It's like I like to say that the garden has grown with me, or I've grown with the garden. And even if you don't do it perfect the first time, Joel Salatin has a little quote, and I love how he puts it. He says, typically people say that if something's worth doing, it's worth doing it right. But he says that's not the way to look at it. It should be, if something's worth doing, it's worth doing until you get it right. So the first time you put a garden in, maybe it doesn't work out perfect, but then you learn from that, you build on that, you now have a foundation to go from. So every year you're getting better and better. You're taking the previous year's experience and investing into the next year. I think that's where the true value comes from, and no matter what you're doing. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you live in zones 5 to 9, I suggest you plant and grow your own pawpaw trees, because not only are they reliable, they're delicious, they're unique, And again, the only way you're gonna be eating pawpaws most likely is if you grow them yourself. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends. Check out the merch down low, and Tuck and James will be back at you with another one real soon. We out.